When the Cybertruck first rolled onto that neon-lit stage, it looked like the future had arrived. Bold, bizarre, and bulletproof. Millions lined up with deposits, convinced this was the truck that would change everything. But fast forward to today, and the Cybertruck is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. How did the most hyped vehicle of the decade become a $10 billion disaster? Before I break down the wild rise and fall of the Cybertruck, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know and lets me keep bringing you business stories that are anything but ordinary. Okay, let's begin. The promise and the price. In November 2019, the world watched a digital unveiling that felt less like a product launch and more like a declaration of war. On a stage bathed in neon light, something utterly alien rolled out a jagged metallic wedge ripped straight from a 1980s sci-fi film. This was the Cybertruck. It was a truck designed not for the ranch, but for the internet and for the ego of its creator. It was marketed on impossible promises: bulletproof skin, insane capacity, and a starting price of $39,900. When the bulletproof window shattered on stage, the entire event became a viral spectacle. The hype train left the station. Millions put down deposits, creating a reservation queue that swelled to over 2 million people. The public bought the vision. This was the future of trucks. This was the product that would disrupt Detroit. Fast forward to late 2025. The early hype is gone, and the reality is setting in. The Cybertruck is not a revolution. It's a catastrophic failure, a monument to ego and self-indulgence. It's now projected to cost the company billions in lost opportunity and manufacturing write-downs. The Cybertruck represents a failure of engineering, market research, and corporate discipline. This is the story of how the most hyped vehicle of the decade became a $10 billion lesson in why disruption must still serve the customer. The design disaster. The functionality void. The first and most fundamental flaw of the Cybertruck is that it is not, by any conventional metric, a good truck. For decades, the American truck market, dominated by titans like Ford, Chevy, and now Rivian, has operated under specific rules defined by utility. A truck needs to be usable, durable, and easily repairable. The Cybertruck failed the first test on every single count. The defining feature of the design, the severe triangular aesthetic, is an industrial sculpture that actively hinders utility. Consider the simplest elements of truck design. Visibility. The Cybertruck's low, sloped windshield and massive blind spots make maneuvering a heavy vehicle hazardous, earning immediate criticism from safety experts. Maneuverability. Despite its size, the flat, angular design and sheer mass make the truck cumbersome in tight spaces. Its turning radius, despite the four-wheel steering, still fights the practical demands of city driving or parking a large vehicle. The bed. The truck bed, the very soul of a utility vehicle, is compromised. The cover, while aesthetically pleasing, limits vertical storage and is prone to mechanical issues. Furthermore, the stainless steel body offers no conventional way to attach aftermarket accessories like rack systems without drilling into the load-bearing structure. Traditional truck buyers want a practical, modular workhorse. The Cybertruck offered them an unforgiving, stylized coffin for cargo. The ultimate irony, as many auto analysts have pointed out, is that the Cybertruck's core design principle, the exoskeleton, means the body panels are load-bearing. This makes the vehicle more resistant to minor dents, but it turns any serious collision or structural damage into a financial catastrophe. A fender bender that costs $1,500 to fix on an F-150. Lightning can easily become a $20,000 plus body-off-frame replacement on the Cybertruck due to the inability to simply swap out a damaged panel. The Cybertruck was a vehicle built for the digital imagination, marketed to people who love the idea of a truck. But when it reached the hands of professional reviewers and eventually actual truck owners, the facade crumbled. The aesthetics, once shocking and desirable, became a liability in the real world. The manufacturing nightmare. The flaw of stainless steel. If the Cybertruck's design was its philosophical failure, the exoskeleton manufacturing process was its practical undoing. This is the root of the projected $10 billion loss narrative. The material of choice was ultra-hard 30X stainless steel, in theory, bulletproof. In reality, a manufacturing nightmare that defied traditional automotive production. The problems were systemic. The flat panels. Stainless steel is nearly impossible to stamp and bend precisely. Because the panels were flat, there was nowhere to hide imperfections. This led to massive visible issues with panel alignment and fit and finish that were immediately mocked across social media. The computer-rendered vision could not survive the real world. The scaling problem. Building a concept car is one thing. Scaling it is another. Tesla had to invent a completely new process for this unforgiving metal, requiring billions in specialized tooling, unique welding systems, and massive capital expenditure. Warping and scrap. The sheer hardness caused stress on machinery and led to production bottlenecks and a high rate of scrap material. The cost to produce each early Cybertruck was astronomically high, with the company selling units at a significant loss. The broken promise. The bait and switch. The Cybertruck was originally marketed as an affordable disruptor, promising a starting price of $39,900, a figure that would have undercut every competitor and truly democratized the EV truck market. This promise was the engine that drove the 2 million reservations. When the truck finally entered volume production years later, the truth was revealed. The entry-level price was scrubbed from the website, and the actual starting price for the available models soared well into the $60,000 to $99,000 range, depending on configuration. The result was the largest bait and switch in automotive history. Millions of reservation holders, who had waited 4 years for an affordable truck, found themselves looking at a luxury-priced vehicle that was functionally deficient. The cost of delay. The immense delay, nearly 4 years from the planned launch, also created a devastating opportunity cost. The competition. While Tesla was locked in its stainless steel prison, competitors like the Ford F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T entered the market with vehicles that were both cheaper and, critically, usable as trucks. Ford and Rivian captured the market segment that was initially reserved for Tesla, gaining crucial traction, brand loyalty, and supply chain maturity. Capital tie-up. The billions of dollars in capital expenditure for the specialized Cybertruck factory and tooling sat idle for years, representing a massive drag on Tesla's balance sheet. The entire saga became a monument to a complete failure in managing expectations. The long wait, the massive price hike, and the ultimate delivery of a flawed product alienated the early adopters, the loyalists, and the core utility audience. The sales collapse. The ultimate evidence of the Cybertruck's failure lies not in engineering critiques, but in recent sales data. As reported by Business Insider and Quartz in late 2025, after the initial wave of novelty deliveries to wealthy early adopters, the Cybertruck faced its first true market test and failed dramatically. Sales began to flatline and tank in Q3 2025. The initial frenzy, fueled by social media hype and curiosity, had completely faded. The market had moved beyond the spectacle. The people who were buying electric trucks were choosing the reliable, functional, and comparatively well-priced alternatives. Yahoo Autos noted that the Cybertruck hype is fading as once hot demand stalls. The product had achieved peak curiosity but failed to achieve sustainable, profitable volume. The data showed a precipitous drop-off in orders following the initial launch surge. The 2 million reservations proved to be a psychological comfort, not a true backlog of binding sales. Once the real price and real flaws were known, the vast majority of those refundable $100 deposits were canceled. The $10 billion failure. This sales collapse confirms the financial catastrophe. The $10 billion failure is not a single, direct write-off. It is a calculation of the total economic cost, CAPEX, on the underutilized assets. Billions spent building unique factories and tools for a product that now has minimal long-term sales volume. Opportunity cost. The value of the time and capital diverted from the company's most urgent need, the sub-$30,000 mass-market vehicle, which is essential for competing with Chinese EV giants. Reputational damage. The constant stream of negative news from rusting body panels to software glitches has begun to erode the very brand cachet that Tesla relied upon. The company that promised future shock delivered production shock. The Cybertruck has proven to be an ultra-niche, novelty product. It is being purchased by a small, wealthy subset of the population looking for a status symbol, not a utility vehicle. The flatlining sales data in Q3 2025 demonstrate that this niche market is saturated and cannot sustain the billion-dollar manufacturing infrastructure built to support mass production. Conclusion: ego over engineering. The story of the Cybertruck is not the story of a technical challenge. It is the story of a massive corporate failure rooted in prioritizing ego over engineering and spectacle over scalability. The company ignored the fundamental rules of the truck market. It ignored the basic principles of low-cost, high-volume manufacturing. It doubled down on a design that was inherently problematic, both aesthetically and practically. The $10 billion cost, measured in capital expenditure, lost market opportunity, production write-offs, and tarnished brand equity, is the price paid for this hubris. The Cybertruck was designed to be the ultimate disruptor. Instead, it became the ultimate cautionary tale, a vehicle that looks perfect in a computer render but is functionally crippled in the real world. In late 2025, the novelty is gone, the sales are stalled, and the reality is clear. The Cybertruck is a monument to a failure that nobody except perhaps the most skeptical analysts saw coming.